So I thought I was just going to slide in here after the June Nintendo Direct with one of my usual recap videos, go over what I felt were the highlights, let you know what was left on the Japanese Direct alone, and call it a day. However, more stories than usual swirled around this Direct, and the show itself covered a lot more ground than I think any of us could have possibly expected, so I'm going to have to attack this thing piecemeal instead, and maybe starting from an angle you may not expect. This is Little Akiba Games, I'm Patrick, welcome back to the shop. Over 2 years ago, I talked about the overall scumminess of Arcade 1UP and their hijacking of the free MVC2 hashtag campaign to market their corresponding Marvel vs. Capcom 2 mini-cabinet, implying that the release of a limited $600 product somehow adequately served the game and its community's rather substantial preservation and availability needs. The real danger was that executives at Capcom, Marvel, and/or Disney might see that so-called answer to the free MVC2 campaign and honestly believe that it was mission accomplished on the whole thing, that MVC2 was once again available to the public in some way, shape, or form, and no further work would need to be done. My particular video on the subject was an open attempt to push back against that possibility. However, for over 2 years, that seemed to be that. Arcade 1UP sold their mini-cabinets, and there was never so much as a hint from Capcom that there was going to be any further development on the franchise. Given how much of a sour note Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite ended on, leaving an incomplete DLC schedule, a forever lopsided character select screen, and a mess of burned bridges, Capcom and Marvel, Marvel and the FGC, Disney and Capcom, even to some degree Capcom and the FGC based on that leaked corporate game plan video, in its wake. We had no reason to be hopeful about getting the series back up and running at all. That uncertainty finally came to an end at the June 2024 Nintendo Direct with the surprise announcement of a Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection, coming later this year and bringing not only Marvel vs. Capcom 2, but X-Men Children of the Atom, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, and even the old Punisher beat-em-up that I'm pretty sure only has a terrible Genesis port to its name thus far. All of the expected inclusions are here, the training mode, the rollback netcode, the museum. It truly is the complete package for those Marvel fans who grew up in the arcades in the mid to late 90s. Now, as expected, the announcement completely broke the internet. If you want to see pure, unadulterated human joy, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better example than the reaction videos to this announcement, starting with Maximilian himself, as one would expect. I'll leave a collection of these reactions up here in the top right if you haven't had the opportunity to see any for yourself yet. However, Nintendo's implementation of Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection in their June 2024 Direct raises some questions, especially when framed in the way they moved on to Super Mario Party Jamboree like nothing happened. No, this collection is not a Switch exclusive, but it's a substantial enough reveal that they could have still gotten away with closing the show with it, or at least making it the very last thing before the Metroid Prime 4 segment. If only there was some other event coming right up on the calendar where the audience's energy would be matched by those presenting the reveal. Oh, hello EVO 2024 in July. This is something Maximilian touched on later on after the reveal. The internet reactions have been amazing for this announcement, but if Capcom had held this back for EVO, perhaps after Street Fighter III Third Strike Finals, you would have had people in the audience ugly crying and holding each other, out in the parking lot singing Hallelujah, and just generally blowing the roof off of the venue. It would have instantly been one of the greatest EVO moments of all time, and it's a shame that they and we missed out on that opportunity. I say all this not even really being a big fan of MVC2 myself. I could just never get my hands to meet the execution demands of such a fast-paced game. However, that doesn't mean I can't respect its significance to the FGC as probably a top 5 foundational title in its history. Nor do I fail to imagine the potential this game has when made readily available in the age of streaming and on-demand content creation. People are going to run wild on YouTube and Twitch with this game, and I'm absolutely here for it. The energy surrounding MVC2 is completely infectious, even if you can't participate effectively yourself. That isn't to call it perfect. Even as a spectator, the balance problems became grating over time, as I pointed out the last time I talked about it. Obviously, the game has retained its audience very well, but some of us can only watch Magneto Storm Sentinel and Magneto Storm Psylocke teams butt heads ad nauseum for so many years without diminished interest, which only gets compounded by the prolonged nature of an MVC2 set. I don't even like it when there are 3 or more of any given character in a Street Fighter VI top 8. And this takes me to the one thing that Capcom could do with this collection that would make it an absolute masterpiece. Enter MVC2 GOAT and prominent content creator Justin Wong with his ratio rules concept, employed by Modder Bank. The idea is simple. Adapt the original Capcom vs. SNK's take on the ratio system to assign every character a point value, in this case from 0 to 5. You get 7 points to build your team, serving as an effective but not targeted ban on top-tier teams like those aforementioned. Every one of the game's 56 characters remains available for use, but, for example, Iron Man and Spiral are going to be far more limited in their potential teammates than characters like Ken or Captain America. It also makes it worth exploring some themed teams for those who enjoy that sort of thing, like Team Shoto of Ryu, Ken, and Akuma, or Team X-Force of Colossus, Omega Red, and your Wolverine of choice. This mod has completely restored my enthusiasm for MVC2. Take a look at what this looks like in practice with this link up here. I love watching ratio rules tournaments, and I've even thought about what teams I would experiment with myself should I ever get an uncharacteristic rush of confidence in my manual dexterity and opt to give it a try again. For the record, I'm mostly thinking Juggernaut, Akuma, and Thanos. More importantly, however, Capcom throwing full support behind the ratio system, by which I mean having it fully implemented as an in-game mode with its own leaderboards and lobbies, would inoculate this collection against the inevitable disappointment and boredom some players are going to experience when they get online and learn just how top-heavy the base game's balance has become over the course of nearly 25 years. I bring this up now because this is really the time to start talking about it, when the collection is just announced and presumably still somewhat malleable. A hashtag campaign helped to bring this collection into existence. Now let's launch one to make it the best collection it can possibly be. I took the liberty of at least trying to get the ball rolling with the MVCFC ratio hashtag, so if you feel the same way I do about it, your support is welcomed emphatically. I'm self-aware enough to know that I can't get any momentum just by posting about it here on my YouTube channel, so all I can hope is that it gathers up some steam through you guys, and ultimately finds its way to someone who can blow it up and get it into the right ears at Capcom. My lack of enthusiasm for Marvel vs. Capcom 2 in its base state aside, I will still find plenty to enjoy with this collection thanks to the older games included in it. You might recall I listed X-Men vs. Street Fighter as one of the most monumental import titles of all time, and I was all about the style of gameplay that it presented when it hit arcades in 1996. The fact that all 7 games in this collection are online enabled means that I can share those early Versus games experiences with friends who weren't necessarily there for it. That is, fighting genre adjacent or even possibly gaming at all at the time. It's impossible to overstate just how important these games are to the history of the fighting genre, and getting them back in available form is a gift literally none of us, even the most optimistic and positive among us like Maximilian, would have anticipated. I'll close this video out with some manner of prognostication because I just can't seem to help myself in times like this. Part of me thinks that the reason they didn't wait for EVO for an announcement was for a sort of double dip of hype. That is, announce the collection at the June Nintendo Direct, and then shadow drop it at EVO, perhaps with Capcom staff on site selling physical copies right then and there. Now, I'm not basing this on anything credible, I'm not taking it at all seriously, there are no leakers out there suggesting this to my knowledge. I just smell it, let's say. They have to be saving something for EVO. That's all for now. If you liked this video, then please be sure to like, comment, share, and especially subscribe as this channel continues its push toward 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2024. Click the notification bell to know right away when the next video drops. I look forward to seeing you back here next time at Little Akiba Games.